At one point, business owner Briony Kennedy had a credit card and overdraft debt of $500,000 and was doing everything she could to make her business succeed. Then she implemented a marketing idea she should have done long ago, and today her multi-million-dollar business is thriving. It's a not for the faint-hearted episode 562 of the 12-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of risky business. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing strategies and ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. You, on the other hand, are a motivated business owner and you are so ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful, beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And guess what? That's exactly what we do around here. That is why this podcast has existed for that long. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Quick update, amazing feedback from my chat with online course expert Tina Tower. That was last week's episode. Tina explained to us how we're all standing on a mountain of knowledge and we could all turn it into online courses and live happily ever after. Not that easy, but a lot easier than you think. Some of the comments from listeners overflowing with gold, said Pete. Exactly what I needed to hear, said Steph. I've bought Tina's course and I'm already halfway to creating my own course, says Jono. I love it. I love it. I love it. smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/561 is where you'll find that episode. Or if you don't need convincing that you should turn your knowledge into an online course and make some extra dough, then grab Tina's course over at tinatower.com/Timbo and I will give you a free signed copy of my book. A big thank you to my nephew Adam Littlechild of Convert Digital for suggesting I get Briony Kennedy on this podcast. Now, Briony is the founder and manufacturer of the online cosmetics brand Adorn Cosmetics, which is on a mission to revolutionise the beauty industry with certified ethically made products, cosmetics in particular, that don't harm animals or the earth. And boy, oh boy, is Briony a smart business owner. Besides sharing how she managed a mountain of expensive debt to launch her business, she also reveals the big marketing idea that catapulted the business forward, why she does Facebook Lives in the bath for her adorners, how she cleverly encourages paid trial of her products, and so much more. I started off asking Briony to take us behind the scenes of the cosmetic industry in 2008. Adorn was a year off launching, and I wanted to know what made her so angry that she needed to start a cosmetics business.
Look, back then, I guess there wasn't really anything that was as ethical as we've got today. And for me, I guess it was really just not having the choice of natural products that actually did something. I'm time poor, a lot of us are, and I just got really frustrated with having to go between different brands, reading different labels, looking at the different ethics behind brands.
How bad is it? Just describe to us, like literally, are we being lied to?
Look, I don't know that. Well, I think, yeah. Look, let's face it. I think there's always a little bit of mayonnaise on things, isn't there? So that we buy things. It's the nicest way of putting it. And I try not to focus too much on talking badly about other brands because I think they've got their place in this world, and for some that's all they're interested in. But for me, the biggest thing that's always irked me is waste and plastic. And so for me, it was really about how do I create a brand that I want to use, that I feel confident in using, that I can use the whole range. So there's not this, bit of that, and then someone else I'm using something else from. But the plastic waste is just ridiculous. I mean, if you think about anything you purchase, you've opened up the plastic, then the box, then it's got something inside it to get to the packaging. And then not only that, you've got most products going to waste. They're not even being finished. And for me, it was really about aligning a brand with my values and also how do we give more with less? How do we provide a luxury product that you feel amazing using, that you feel amazing buying?
What were you doing, Briony, at the time that you had the idea for Adorn that gave you the confidence to think, yeah, I can start a manufacturing business in the cosmetics industry where budgets are huge and the brand names are global? What gave you the confidence to think you were onto something?
Well, I don't know if it's confidence or complete stupidity.
Naivety.
Looking back on it now, I'm not sure I'd put myself through this all over again. I mean, the brand's 12 years old now, but look, you probably find it interesting to know that my background actually is in the car industry. So you couldn't be any. Yes, you couldn't be any more, away from the cosmetics field. But look, obviously, I've worked in quite a lot of different fields, and I think I've learnt a lot around sales, marketing, customer service. But for me, I've always enjoyed makeup artistry, and I've always enjoyed colouring in. So I did makeup artistry on the side. So weddings, I did a lot of theatre makeup and things like that. So for me, I had that experience, but also, of course, had the business experience behind me around supporting small businesses with their marketing. I had my very first business when I was about 12, Tim. So, it was called Briony's Bunny Business. And so I was always a huge animal. Do you like the little marketing, the little slang on that?
Nice syntax.
Tagline. Yes, yeah. So, look, I loved animals. I had 2 bird aviaries at the time. I used to breed birds. I had guinea pigs. I had quail, goldfish, mice, you name it, I had it. And I soon realised that apart from selling the babies, I could also sell the feed, because I noticed that the bird seed in the shops was a lot more expensive. So I'd get my pocket money off my mum, which was $5 at the time, and I would go to the local silo, buy the seed or hay or whatever it was, put it into smaller bags, and I would sell it. And I don't know whether this is something I should be proud of, but I also realised that a lot of my friends were not allowed to have pets. So in primary school, I decided, okay, I'm going to sell my friends guinea pigs or birds for $3.50. I remember it. And then they were not allowed to keep them at their home. So they kept them at my house, and I would charge them 50 cents rent.
You're good. You became a landlord. You became a retailer. You became a... Goodness me.
I don't know whether that's something to be embarrassed about or
Well, it obviously took you. You say you're in the car business for a long time. I'm guessing you were in sales or something, were you, for a particular car brand? Just was it was a matter of time before you took that leap and started your own. Where was the fire? Because it is not a small thing, to start a business when you've been an employee for so long.
Yeah, but definitely.
I'd have to say, to start a manufacturing business adds a level of complexity that many business owners don't have to confront, because, you might be wholesaling other people's products, whatever it may be. So correct.
Yeah. Look, it was a massive feat. And I think that in hindsight, if I had have known at the time what I was getting myself involved in, the naivety of it was probably a blessing, because I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And I've always had really good gut feelings on things. I've never had a business plan. I've never had a marketing plan.
Really?
No, never had anything like that. I still really don't.
Good on you.
It's
so just tell me about that, because I'm from the same school. I tend to operate more from the gut. I have found through the experience of having a business plan or a marketing plan, or seeing others with a business or marketing plan, that they go to all this trouble to write them, but then they sit on the shelf and gather dust, because either life gets in the way, or a new idea comes along and supersedes whatever you've captured in the marketing plan or whatever it is. Do you say that? And I love the fact that you just openly said it. Are you clearly not embarrassed by it?
No, I'm not, and I think that there's 2 things there. I do think that there is a saying that if your product looks absolutely amazing and it's on point, then you've probably launched too late. And I look back at the products that we originally launched, and my God, they're ugly. Like, honestly, how did anyone buy them? I don't know. It's really about sometimes just having faith in yourself and putting that imposter syndrome aside, because anyone's capable if you really set out and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And, you know, for me, it was always just surrounding myself with people that knew more than I did. So I had the idea, I had the concept, and the concept really started from, I actually purchased a beauty salon prior to starting Adorn, and it was a rundown beauty salon. It was a nail bar at the time. I was obviously well-versed in certain aspects of beauty, but not all of it. And I just was really finding that the beauty salons then weren't giving a great experience. So I thought, how hard could this be to give a good experience? So I bought this business, and then I tailored it to a membership, which nobody thought I could do. And it was very much like a gym. So people would purchase a membership. They might have set it to $80. So you'd get services to the value of $80 every month, but you'd get those services at 10% less. So the difference that you haven't spent would accumulate, and then it would be something that you could use towards maybe a facial you'd never be able to afford normally. So become part of our customers' cash flow, that they didn't feel that they were having to save up for their beauty treatments.
That was ahead of its time, Briony. I mean, to be offering, we're talking between before 2008. I mean, memberships were common amongst your phone plan and your gym and all that kind of stuff. But having a retail business offering membership, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, there was nothing like it. And I think a lot of people did think, why would people give you the money? They'll just give it to you when they want to. And I'm like, yeah, but it's part of cash flow. A lot of the stress for people is seeing their money disappear. But backtracking, when I was there, I had a little visitor pop in and dropped off some details about producing cosmetics. And at the time I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't need to be doing that. Like, I wouldn't have a clue. But I did keep the card. I remember a feeling in my chest that made me keep this business card of this girl that walked in. And I put it aside. And so then after I'd had the salon for a couple of years, I had done all I could do, and I'd had enough. I wanted to get out. I knew it was time to move on. And so when I sold it, that same week, so the first person that looked at it bought it, and that same week I found out I was pregnant, and a few weeks later I found out I was having twins. So as you do, as you do when you know you're having twins, I started thinking, well, what am I going to do when I'm home with these twins? So I was kind of festering some ideas, I guess, for a little while. I remembered I had that card, and I thought, I wonder if I could look at maybe, I don't know, making a few of my own cosmetics and maybe teaching women in their homes how to apply makeup. Because I noticed when I was at the salon, the biggest thing for women was having correct colour matching. They just had no idea what colours to use. That was the main issue, and that's the main issue for them buying the wrong thing and it ending up in landfill. So ethically, I had an issue with it, but I also knew that there was a challenge I could solve from a business point of view. So what I thought is, let's just test this first, because I have no idea about producing products. I really don't. I know what's good quality. I know what colours to use. So I started with a brand, I won't name it. It was a network marketing brand at the time. It was fairly new to Australia. And I started teaching in-home makeup classes. And I soon realised that it was quite popular. And I had a lot of these booked. So around breastfeeding twins and my husband being home, I'd trot off and I would do these classes. So I thought, I think this is now a time for me to look at my own products, because I'm making this company money. I could be making more money myself. So really the idea just started about, let's just make some extra money for myself. And of course, I'm going to make more if it's my products. Never did I at that point envisage it to be as big as it is. And Adorn is now a multi-million-dollar brand. It's a huge brand. And I never, ever thought I would see that. I was just happy to get $500 a week.
There's so many questions around that.
Goal.
First of all, how does that make you feel to say what you just said around what it's worth?
Well, if I'm honest, I've actually got goosebumps, because it's only been in the last 4 years that that's happened for me. I didn't take a wage for 9 years.
Just reinvested.
We had sold our properties. My husband had used up all his annual leave. We had put everything into it, and we were on the bare bones of our backsides.
How were the credit cards going at that? They tapped out?
I had $500,000 worth of debt in credit cards.
Stop it.
I'm not even
just
joking.
On your credit cards?
Yeah, and an overdraft.
And an overdraft. Forget the house and all that selling up. You've had Wow,
Yep.
we
We did. And look,
I'm just sweating. Hang on, I've just got to wipe my brow.
Yeah, I know. And I think that please don't take that advice on board, anybody. But back then, I mean, I was so lucky I had the overdraft because I'd already had the beauty salon. So I was able to quantify that
What interest were you paying on that credit card? Sorry, was that 18% or thereabouts?
Oh, yeah.
And for how long did you have $500,000 hanging out on credit cards?
Credit and overdraft. So that increased over time. And what happened
it's called compound interest.
Well, I have to say, back then, you couldn't get business loans, okay? And it's pretty hard even now, but it was just impossible then. So what I did, I don't know whether this is really something I should admit to, but I knew that there was a situation where if I applied for a few credit cards at one time, that the banks wouldn't know. So... please don't take this advice. Any of these listeners, come on, be sensible. But I'm being realistic. I'm being truthful.
Okay,
so I couldn't get the funds, so I applied for 3 credit cards at one time. I had that much faith in myself. I knew that this was not a great idea, but it was the only way I had to move forward. And so I got the credit cards, had the overdraft. We, over that 8 period of time, sold 2 of our properties. Hubby used up all his annual leave, sick leave, long service leave.
What gave you the confidence, the knowledge, whatever it is, Briony, to know? Because, compound interest compounds pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What did you know that gave you the confidence to have that debt hanging over your head? Because there must have been something like in a month or 6 months' time where you go, it's going to be a big payday. We'll be fine. What was that?
Yeah. It's not for everybody. How I quantified it was this. I looked at it as my worth. If all shit hit the fan, what could I earn if I went back into the workforce? And I knew what my value would be. And so I worked that out, that if I had to go back to work, it would maybe take me 3 to 5 years to pay that back. And that was my comfort zone. When I was outside of that, I thought that's when I'll start to question whether or not I need to walk away or sell what I'd created.
Briony, what lever did you pull in order for things to turn around? I think you said it was only it was only 4 years ago where all of a sudden Adorn Cosmetics becomes something pretty spectacular. What was there? Yeah. Was there one thing?
There was one thing, but then, in all fairness, I do think that the silver lining, don't sit around and wait for that, because at the same time, would this one thing that I'm about to explain have worked if I didn't have all the background behind me? No, it wouldn't have. So yes, I could say this was the moment, but it was the fact that I had this foundation behind me already that really pivoted it to that next level. So I guess the mistake I made when I started Adorn was thinking that the products would stand on their own 2 feet, because they're bloody amazing products. The quality of them is amazing, and I know our retention rate for customers is higher than average. It's way higher than average. So we've almost got a bit of a cult following. The products are that good. But what I guess for me, I never wanted to be the face of the brand. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want that responsibility. And I guess I felt like I wasn't probably good enough to be the face of the brand or tell my story around it either, because I felt back then I had to compete with Vogue and Chanel and all of that airbrushed, amazing looking stuff, because you didn't have social like you've got it now. It's quite raw now, isn't it? Where back then it was still quite filtered. And I mean, yes, there's filters now, but we really are looking for that rawness now. So I guess I was scared of doing that, but we were at a point where our family, and I kid you not, they were buying our food. We had no money left, nothing left. The brand was growing, and that was the hardest thing, because the brand was growing, but we had no money left because of those bloody credit cards.
You would have had a few frequent flyer points, so you could have taken off somewhere.
Yeah, I could have. Yeah, I could have. Bahamas. So I had all this support, which was making me feel sick. I mean, no one wants to have their family buying them food. I mean, it was just awful. So I thought to myself, what more can I do? I just don't know. And my husband had been in my ear for years that you need to tell the story of Adorn. You need to be the face of the brand. People listen to you. They like you. That's why they did the classes with you. So I thought, I've got nothing to lose right now, because I've almost lost everything. And so I did a video in my bathroom, and the bathroom I had at the time was just revolting. It was the worst lighting. I had my phone precariously sitting on a ledge that could have fallen out at any time just to get the good lighting.
Why the bathroom?
Well, it was the only quiet place in my house with 3 boys.
Terrible acoustic, but okay.
Oh, it was terrible. And I think I said about 50 times. It was terrible. But I have to say, the first 3 videos I did were the worst I've ever done, and they were what made us our first few $1 million, if you want to look at it that way. So I guess what I would always like to put across to people is sometimes the worst thing that you can do in your eyes is the best thing that you could ever do for your brand or your business. And those videos and me actually showing people how to use these products in an unfiltered, raw way with a real person, I hate that term, but, an unfiltered person, turned the brand around, like to the point that I remember specifically sitting at home, looking at the phone, checking the sales on my phone because I can access the back end of the site that way. We were that tight with our cash flow. I had to the minute check where money was coming from. The sales literally doubled overnight, and I thought the website had a malfunction. I honestly had no idea. And from that moment on, it's just been constant.
That's a great story. Needs to be dissected a little bit. There's no surprise to me, and clearly hubby was onto something that you needed to put, the owner of the business, the founder of the business, you needed to put your face to it. You've got the experience, you've done some modelling, you've done some makeup, you have the confidence in front of camera. So that seemed to me a no-brainer. And to tell that story is what people buy into, and you clearly you prove that, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I'm guessing, so you do these videos on your phone in a grubby old bathroom with terrible acoustic. So you're saying they're terrible because, grubby bathroom, shit background, bad acoustic. But I'm guessing the content, and this is this massive learning here, because I rattle on all the time about saying to my listeners, put your head above the trench, put yourself out there as the business owner, whether it be audio, video, through blog posts, through social, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there. Don't worry about the quality, because if the content is good, if the content is helpful, then you're on a winner, right? And clearly your content was good, right?
Well, absolutely. And I think it's really just what are your customers' pain points? Do you even know what they are, or are you just selling a product? It's really about solving a problem for someone. People aren't buying foundation. They're buying better skin. They're not buying mascara. They're buying longer lashes. They're not buying lipstick. They're buying more voluminous lips.
I'd go one step further, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but you're right. They're not buying mascara or lashes. They're buying confidence. I mean, your whole industry is based around hope and confidence. Yes. It's not about having longer lashes.
Correct. That's exactly right. Exactly right. And how you achieve that, in different brands will be different ways. But I think it's absolutely essential for you to survive in a business to understand that. And I think when you do know that, your content becomes so much more relevant, because you're not banging on about the product and the, what it does. It's about what it can do for these people. And, that to me is very, very, very powerful. But what's also very powerful is you just being real and raw about it. Like if I'm putting on a bit of mascara and I accidentally get a blob to the side of my face, well, show them like, oh God, I've just made a mistake. This is how we fix it. People want to know that it's real, because if you make it look too good, they feel that they can never do that and never achieve that. It's the same with fitness. It's the same with fashion.
It's a really interesting conundrum, that, because, again, in your industry, the Revlons, the Clarins, the Cliniques of the world, they do the opposite of what you're talking about. Everything you see in their branding is perfection. Yes. You'll never see a blob of mascara on a model. I imagine if I went to showing my naivety here, but I haven't worn makeup for at least a week. If I went to the Clinique's website and there were tutorials, they would be very polished tutorials, shot like a Hollywood movie more than an iPhone in a bathroom. So
correct.
And they know what they're doing, right? But so do you, and you're doing something completely opposite. So it's quite an interesting learning there, is that you don't have to follow the leader. And in actual fact, if you don't follow the leader, there's probably a gap in the market ready to be filled by, in your case, someone like Adorn.
Yeah, absolutely. And one step further from that, it's also your distribution can be very unique. And so, apart from the fact that I guess my issue was not being the face, because I didn't feel that I could be glossy and I couldn't shoot things with all of the equipment. I've just got my phone. But soon realised, I think, that when you're put in the trenches and you've got nothing else to lose, sometimes you're forced into positions that provide the best outcomes for you. And that was definitely the case for me. But some of the other conundrums that I had over time was, of course, how do I distribute these products? How do I get them out into people's hands? And again, it's really sometimes your limitations that become, the best avenues of revenue for your business. And so for me, I never wanted to sell into stores. The reason for that was because of the waste behind it. If the products don't sell, they go to landfill. But also, how are those products going to be best sold sitting on a shelf with millions of others with no customer service? And also from my point of view, and from anyone with a business, your business is the best in its field, isn't it? That's what we believe and that's what we know to be true. And for me, having one of the highest accredited brands there is in our space, I didn't want that to sit on a shelf collecting dust, because that's not fair to the product. It needs to be valued and it needs to have the truth be told about it. So I wanted to sell the products via a website. Now, 12 years ago, forget it. No one would even think to buy colour cosmetics from a website. So most people thought I had rocks in my head. And for me, I had that ethical reason why, the loyalty to what I'd created why, but also from a financial point of view. I didn't, even if I wanted to have the money to go into a store, I didn't want to lose those margins and I didn't want to lose the customers. I wanted to always own the customers so that they're always getting the Adorn experience, not someone else's. So how was I going to bridge that gap? That people don't want to buy something that they can't try. So we implemented a sample program. And again, that's something no one did back then. And we sold samples, heaven forbid. No one did that back then. People thought you had to give them away. And my attitude was, well, I can't afford to give them away. If no one wants to buy them, well, I'll soon figure it out. It'll be a lost cause. But for me, if I wanted to try something, I'd be more than happy to pay for a sample and get the best experience that way. It was a long haul. But in saying that, how many brands are now struggling and stepping over their own 2 feet, trying to create that online space and that sampling for people online because of the environment we're in now. People don't want to go into store and touch dirty, unhygienic stuff. They don't want to be even near people at the moment. So what was so wrong back then has become so right for us now.
There's a big marketing challenge which you've sort of half alluded to solving, which is, again, your category is dominated by big advertisers. I mean,
yes.
You only have to open the pages of Vogue magazine and, the first 20 pages is one full-page cosmetic ad after the other. Okay, you're competing with that. You go into stores, there's big point-of-sale posters, there's celebrity endorsement, there's all this stuff. You don't have any of that. I'm guessing you don't even have an advertising budget of any sort. You're just cranking out homemade videos and doing all you can from that point of view. So you've got you've got 2 challenges. You've got a brand awareness challenge, which is, hey, I'm Adorn and we exist. But you've also got an education challenge because not only are we a cosmetics brand, we are, and from what I can tell in my reading of your products, completely, non-toxic, not tested on animals, environmentally friendly. There's all these things that, again, some would say, well, they're motherhood statements. Prove it. Don't tell me you're funny, tell me a joke. So you've got this education process. And then I only last night, I was saying to my girlfriend, Sarah, hey, who wears makeup, and said, I'm interviewing Adorn. And she said, show me, come and show. I said, you wear all this makeup that's toxic. Would you consider wearing Adorn? She goes, well, I don't know what the colours are like. And I don't know. And then we saw the sample stuff and she goes, oh, you got to pay for samples. That's a bit weird. So I'm not thinking everyone is willing to pay for samples. Maybe you're leaving money on the table. Maybe we didn't interrogate the website enough to find that, it's actually...
Yep.
So there's a few challenges there, right?
Yeah, definitely. And look, initially, before I even did the videos, one of the things that we did to get brand awareness was we went to absolutely every event we could possibly go. So we were offering colour matching stations. And so what we would do is we would go to things like the, World Vegan Day or something to do with Australian Made. We would even get invited to things like, say, Flight Centre's annual ball, and we'd be there doing touch-up makeup for events. You name it, any event we could be at, we went to, and we did the hard slog. And, if there was makeup classes to be taught, I was teaching them. I had girls teaching classes. So it was getting, feet pounding the pavement and really at that low level, just
rolling
getting
the
as much
sleeves up, grassroots, a bit of guerrilla marketing, getting in under the, behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, because I knew once we got it onto people's faces, they'd buy, and they did. Like, I would do a class at someone's home with 5 or 6 ladies, and I'd walk away with, about $1,500. So there was no issue with the quality of the products. But yes, there's always that issue. So what we did with the samples, I suppose, and we continue to do events for a long time. We don't do so many anymore because the power is really behind a lot of our videos. Now. Well, there's definitely not. But even prior to that, the power was in the videos. But what we have found is that the samples are hugely popular, and we sell hundreds and hundreds and thousands of them every year. But what we wanted to do is then make it easier again, because women are still umming and ahhing about what sample to try. So decisions are something that no one wants to make. We're already worried about what we're making for dinner, who's dropping the kids off, when you're going to the gym next. So how do we limit people's decision making and increase their confidence? That's what I think it's very much at any brand. You need to make it easy for them to buy. So we have sample boxes, and they're put into colour palettes or colour tones. So light, medium, dark, or however you want to word it. There's a foundation box, there's the ultimate box. It depends on if you're just a foundation wearer or an ultimate box wearer. So always have 2 options, 2 different price points. And so people can buy them singly, or they don't want any stress, they buy them in a box. One step further, what we initiated about 8 years ago now was a colour matching service online. And so there is a team of beauty experts, not robots, not pictures of all these models. Do you look like her? Yes, that's the product for you. That's nonsense. You want to look like you, and you want someone to tell you what suits you. So you upload a photo. And Tim, I'd love to see your face. Upload a photo to the colour matching service.
You ain't got enough makeup, Briony. You ain't got enough.
And so you just upload a photo of yourself, and a beauty expert will have a look at that. And then we link you to all of the products that suit you and your skin tone. And a first step is, of course, the samples. And then once you buy the samples, you get videos on how to use them. So we're holding your hand the whole way from buying it to sampling it to using it afterwards. And then, for us, that's just been hugely successful.
What you've done, you've been very clever, and whether you've fallen into this or not, but you've created what is generally a mass offering of, buy this foundation, buy this mascara, and these brands just sell them, right, in the thousands. You've somehow managed to personalise this, create what feels like a community. It feels like you almost know each individual customer. That would be unrealistic, but I'm sure you know many of your customers by name, and they know you. And it's really quite unusual in your industry, and I think that's a big reason for your success. It's a roll the sleeves up marketing strategy.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, will this work for every brand owner? Probably not. I think there's an element of
it'd be a bloody good step forward if more brand owners.
I agree. Yes, I agree.
Took the time.
I totally agree, and I think it does come down to personality, charisma, that honesty. That that there's certain elements that people look for, and I do think more people need to step up. And in our industry, definitely, there's not a lot of brand owners that talk about their products at all. One of the things that we also tried, probably less than a year ago now, was taking that loyalty, as you said, that personalised service one step further, and that was creating a private group on Facebook. Now, I always thought, well, we've already got Instagram, Facebook. I do lives. And so...
Is it true that you do lives from the bath and you call it Waffle with Briony?
Yeah, bath time waffle with Briony. Yeah, I'm butt naked, so no one can see anything. It's PG, but it's how raw can you get? I thought to myself, first of all, it started because I don't get time to myself at home, and so the only place I can hide is in the bath from my kids. So I often have a scotch in the bath too, which I'm not sure if I should admit, but I have a scotch in the bath. It's all top shelf stuff,
right?
Tim. Right. And I thought, I'm going to just have a chat with these people. And I think because I am naked, how much raw can you be? And whether I am actually showing them how to remove makeup, I could be talking to them about my day. It doesn't matter. It's that engagement and that trust that you're building. But it's got to be genuine. People see through it if it's nonsense. Like if it's self-serving, it becomes very obvious. So for me, it's about, okay, I find this interesting, but what is in it for the customers to actually give me their time? Because time is the most valuable commodity that any of us have. So if someone gives you their time, give them something of value. If they leave a comment, they've given you their time, comment back. It's these things. You can't constantly be searching for new customers, nurture the ones you've got. So this community that we've got is almost a cult, I think, because they're so bloody loyal. I love them to bits. And, there's over 4,000 women in this group, and it's not even 7 months old. And they are now taking their own lives in this group, teaching each other. They're even submitting their own tutorials. Like, I cannot believe the confidence in these women. It's become absolutely, hair-tingling stuff.
Do you ever think that this brand could be something bigger than selling makeup? And clearly you see the benefit of Adorn Cosmetics is in providing hope and confidence. But could Adorn Cosmetics become a personal development brand in the future?
Yeah, I guess I've actually not thought of that, Tim. You might be here. I might have to talk to you about this off air. Hey,
I'll just get my invoice book. Just one tick.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I do think that there are things that I am looking at that support other avenues around this business, but our next step at the moment is actually taking the brand to more customers. So we are looking at ads and things like that outside of social, but globally will be our next port of call, and looking at 3PL and things like that. So I still very much want to control the brand and the customers. So I'm not looking at distributors, but very much looking at stations. I have an amazing concept store that's more of an experiential.
Oh, wow.
And I can't divulge it because someone will steal my idea. But I've been working on that for about 6 years now, and so that's something that I'm super excited about, especially when we get out of COVID. I think people are going to just be banging on the doors. So like
a flagship store somewhere, like I interviewed the girls from Spell and the Gypsy Collective who have a shop in Byron, and people, it's honestly a destination. I was only there about 4 weeks ago in Byron. I drove past the store at about 10 to 9. There was a queue out the front. Maybe they had a special sale, I don't know, but literally 20 women waiting for the doors to open. So it's interesting looking at e-commerce brands and seeing that move to bricks and mortar. It makes a lot of sense to me, just that touch and feel, and again, it develops a greater trust and confidence. Oh, this is the real deal. Like, these guys are real. They have a shop. It's sort of weird kind of consumer psychology, isn't it?
It is that, isn't it? And it's almost like when you see an ad on TV, you think, okay, maybe they are good.
That's right. Weird.
It's a weird thing. And
but the other thing in your industry is pricing. Like, I'm imagining the margins are pretty good because no one wants to buy a $9 foundation. You have to. You're almost forced to charge. And I gather, I don't know pricing in your industry, but I did look at your prices, and I'm figuring they're sort of mid-range, but they're still, you look at it and go, wow. As a bloke, I go, really? Would you pay that?
Yeah, of course. Of course. You'd be thinking, wow, would women pay that?
How do you play? Is pricing something you lose sleep over? Do you play with the elasticity of the various products that you have and see where it lands, or how do you manage that?
It's very much priced around the ingredients that we use. So it's because we are Australian made.
Price plus ingredients plus margin or something.
Yeah. So we look at the quality of the ingredients, and then of course we look at a margin. And we are fortunate that because we own our own brand, and it's owned solely by me, and we don't have distributors and things like that, that we do get the whole margin. So we're not spreading that thin through selling through other stores or bricks and mortar stores. So for us, it's looking at that and then looking at, say, a coefficient of how much we want to sell over and above that. Look, we're definitely not a cheap brand. We're not the most expensive either, but no, that's right. But we probably sit somewhere between that sort of luxury mid-range price point. But
thank you for using the word coefficient, Briony. It hasn't been used on the show in the first 12 years, and I think it was you and maths, and I failed that. So, am
I showing my age?
Well, you're showing your intelligence more than your age.
Okay,
Tell
good.
me, you've wrapping things up. You've got a podcast, which I think is fantastic, and again, clearly you're a hustler marketer in the sense that podcast not expensive to make, huge impact, takes time. What have you seen? I think you're about 20 episodes in. Am I right there?
Yeah, that's right. Look, again, it's just adding another layer, isn't it? People can't always sit down and watch you. So everybody's got, different, whether they need to sit and listen or on the go listen. But people are intrigued by my story. And I have, obviously, being a mum of twins, 3 boys, I have suffered depression. I've had anxiety. I've had all sorts of different journeys around the different businesses that I've had. And I think people are just interested, like, the discussions we've had today. How did you start? How did you get through it? Were you sucking your thumb in a corner ever? Yes, I was. Did you have moments where you felt like this is the most stupid thing? Yes. Have I had moments where
What's
I lost
the
everything?
self-talk to get out of all this? Because I've heard you say on one of your podcasts, I've had more struggles than I've had triumphs.
Yeah.
What is your and that would be fairly common. Imagine a life where you had more triumphs than struggles. Geez, that'd be a blessed life, wouldn't it? Maybe.
Wouldn't you?
What's your self-talk when you're in the corner sucking on the thumb?
Look, well, from someone who has had mental health issues in the past, I've really had to work on myself and my self-talk. And for me, it's not been something that happened overnight, but it was very much, I need to, right at this moment, only think about this moment, because I can't control anything else. So my whole day is always bringing myself back to the moment that I'm in, because I am naturally aligned to being anxious because I'm constantly living in the future. I'm like, what I want to do this. I'm 100 miles an hour and or 1,000 miles an hour, or a nut bag, as my husband calls me. So lucky he's a good, quiet country boy, or it just wouldn't work. So I have to, all of the things that, what socially could be considered wrong with me, which is what's the norm? There's no such thing as normal. Have been my greatest assets. Being an anxious person, I get shit done. But I do need to constantly be, Briony, right now, you've got no money. I know you are worried about how you're going to pay people tomorrow, but right now, all you're doing is eating your dinner. Just eat your dinner. And you've got to take the moments. One of the things that I did when I was under a lot of stress was I never looked at my bank account before I went to bed. Don't ever do that, because you're just going to make yourself feel sick. So control what you can control and always have an out. So for me, it was so important that at the beginning of us talking, Tim, I said that, my pain point was I needed to know that I could go and earn a certain amount and pay it off over a certain time. So if you don't have that out for yourself, you're always going to be feeling like you should get out now, because you haven't set your boundaries. So I do think it's about having boundaries set so that you know what you're working towards from a positive and a negative, and just constantly checking in with your gut, because I had more people tell me this would fall on its ass than I ever got support, aside from my husband and some family members. Most people had no belief in me at all. I mean, I remember sitting next to a woman at one event I went to. She asked me what I was doing, and I told her, and she said, why on earth would you start a makeup brand? There's so many already. Apart from wanting to punch her in the nose, I'm just like, what? So you're going to get doubters. You've just got to listen to your gut. If you know that this is right and it's going to work, keep moving forward.
What she was really saying was, I wish I was you. I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's that whole I've got to bring you down because you're making me feel insecure for the lack of what I'm not doing. So it's never going to be easy, and I think the hardest thing anyone will ever do is getting to know themselves. And I think if you get to know yourself, what makes you tick, where your threshold is to back out of something, get serious with yourself. Like, it's not a failure, or you are not a failure if you decide that you will only give something 12 months or you will only spend 10 grand or you, like, whatever it is, your comfort zone is your comfort zone, and that's not right or wrong. That's you, and you need to be really, really blatantly honest with yourself, and then you will be successful. And success is happiness, isn't it? You know, it's really about being happy with what you are creating, what you've done in your life and where you're at, and only you can do that.
Briony Kennedy, I think you're ace. It's a great story. It's a story in the making. You are coming back on this podcast in, I'm going to say 2, maybe 3 years' time, because I reckon you're going to have just even more great advice and more great news on a brand that's growing day by day. Thank you.
I can absolutely promise I will, and thank you so much for your time, Tim.
AdornCosmetics.com.au is where you will find all Briony's cosmetics and products and tutorials. You may even find me, fellas, in a tutorial going forward. Yeah, I'll put myself out there. A lot of work to be done, a lot of cracks to be filled, but I reckon we can get there, Briony. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
There you go, team. Adorn Cosmetics founder Briony Kennedy. Geez, I have a huge admiration for founders like Briony. They roll up their sleeves. They build a business through sheer determination and some smart marketing without spending a fortune. They just have a red hot go, an RHG. Is that a hashtag? If it's not, let's make it one. Hashtag RHG. Here's my top 3 attention grabbers from that chat with Briony. Attention grabber number 1. I love how she was offering memberships to her beauty salon clients before even starting Adorn. That's just clever marketing. If you'd like to find out more about how to do that pricing model, take a listen to my chat with naturopath Catherine Maslin in episode 465. She completely turned her business around by simply offering memberships. Very clever, great for cash flow. Attention grabber number 2. I love how Briony's chosen to be the face of her brand and how she does Facebook Lives from the bath for her adorners. Did you pick up that she calls her precious clients adorners? I love it when business owners give their clients particular names. I think it's fun. It also positions her as a brand that's different to all the other very serious brands in her category. So pretty clever marketing there by Briony. Attention grabber number 3. I love how she's crystal clear on her customers' pain points and helps address them with a bunch of inexpensively produced videos, which you'll find behind the tutorials button on her website. Really clever, and you've got to love a bit of helpful marketing, right? That's what my book's all about, The Boomerang Effect, helpful marketing. That's what grabbed my attention. Love to know what grabbed yours. Call the Small Business Big Marketing hotline after the show's over on 0480 015 150 and let me know. Be sure to mention your name and your business so you get a free bit of publicity, just like listener Joe did.
Hey Timbo, my name's Joe, and my wife and I own a professional car detailing business here on the Sunshine Coast, just like you, down in Warana. And I just really wanted to call up and say thank you so much for all your podcasts. They're amazing. Get so much insight and wisdom out of them. It's really awesome to hear other people's stories. And I really just wanted to ring you today to say thank you. And I've really got a lot out of the podcast. We've tried a lot lately to build our awareness online and become the knowledge bank of our industry by creating a lot of videos, trying to answer very commonly asked questions on Google and YouTube so that people will watch our videos, they'll get to know us. They're very raw and real and open and honest. We try to do a lot of myth-busting videos so that people build that trust with us without even coming in and meeting us in person. And that really helps because I think you've shared it before, but we try to, not be a salesperson, but rather a consultant when they come into our business and they just want to come in and book in. They don't necessarily come in to be convinced on using our service. So that's been a really important thing that we've done in our business that is just helping immensely. Thanks to all your interviews and podcasts that you've had that's really helped us along the way. And we're noticing a massive difference with the kind of customers we're getting in. They're already wanting to use our services because they've seen us online and they see our workshop, they see what we do, they see our team, and we try to be as transparent as possible. And one thing I've really wanted to do was step out of our comfort zone and really go the next level. And we're actually hosting a supercar car show, a charity car show here at our workshop. We're having over 20 supercars on display. It's never been done before on the Sunshine Coast, and it's very scary, but we bit the bullet and we're doing it. It's all raising money for the Wishlist Foundation, and it's great because at the same time we're raising money for a great charity, but we're really building the brand of supercars. So that's your Ferraris, McLarens, all those higher end exotic cars that they come to us, and it's really good for brand awareness. So that's it from me. Thank you so much, and thanks for your time, mate. Bye.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Love it when a local business is listening to my podcast. But you didn't leave your business name. That's okay. I found it. A quick Google revealed that your business is called cleangetaway.com.au. And great website, by the way, buddy. Really, really good. In an industry where probably websites aren't fantastic, you have really nailed it. I love your phrase, be a consultant, not a salesperson. More of us could learn from that. Hosting a charity car show. Genius, genius, genius. Get out of your comfort zone more often, champion, because that, my friend, is where the magic happens. That just about brings us to the end of episode 562. Got some amazing business founders coming up. If there's someone you'd love me to interview, though, email me, tim@timreid.com.au, and tell me, who would you love to hear from? If you haven't already, be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Boomerang Effect, over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. It'll show you how to create helpful marketing and why you should. I'd love to hear from you, so do call the Small Business Big Marketing hotline on 0480 015 150. And if you are loving the podcast, you'll find 561 more episodes on your favourite podcast app. This podcast, as usual, presented by me. The music bed, supplied, produced, sung, recorded by rockstar Lockie Doley, and somehow producer Romy Sher pulls it all together geniusly. Thanks, Romy. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.